Samsung has been making the SLR-style mirrorless interchangeable lens model for years, but like many competitors, they've suffered from performance issues. The company finally steps up its game with the NX1, a high-performance, high-quality camera that goes head-to-head with models like the Canon EOS 7D Mark II, and quite effectively. Overall, the NX1 produces excellent photos, sharp, with a solid dynamic range and great color accuracy. The highlight detail could be a bit better, but that's really my only quibble. Default noise processing seems to err on the side of smoothness over detail above ISO 1600. Shooting RAW can usually improve the detail but only by accepting additional grain, and will sometimes gain you some improvements in total range. Photos look clean up to ISO 800 and remain very good through ISO 1600. By ISO 3200, you can start to see color noise in blacks and grays in JPEGs. That can be fixed in the mid-range ISO sensitivities by tweaking the settings or by shooting RAW. The NX1 is an excellent performer, with the exception of battery life. While its 500 shots from a fully charged battery is quite good for a mirrorless model, it's generally disappointing for a camera in its price class. Though it's not that much worse than the 7D Mark II's lifespan between recharges, that camera is pretty disappointing. A DSLR in its class should get closer to 1000 shots on a battery charge. It takes just under a second to power on and shoot, fast for a mirrorless, but not as fast as a typical $1,500 DSLR. Otherwise, it fares well compared to DSLRs and to the fastest competitor we've tested thus far, the Olympus OMD-M1 with the latest firmware. Time to focus and shoot runs roughly 0.2 to 0.3 seconds in all lighting conditions. The same goes for two sequential shots, both RAW and JPEG, adding flash recycle time increases it to 1.1 seconds, which is quite good. The NX1 hits continuous shooting out of the park from a frame rate perspective. It can sustain 14.4 FPS for an essentially unlimited number of best quality JPEGs with autofocus greater than 85, at least, under our test conditions. Under optimal conditions, greater than 1/500 seconds and with a 280 MB per second U3OS NX1 This Extreme Pro card, it reached 15.0 FPS in our testing. One caveat is that it's only capable of its fastest focus with the 1650mm and 5150mm lenses, which are nice lenses, but costly. It can burst at about 14.5 FPS for 21 frames in RAW, though when it slows for 6 frames, then slows more, which I find harder to deal with than when the camera slows consistently. At least then you know how to compensate. I shot quite a bit of JPEG plus RAW on continuous, and though it couldn't sustain a long burst, it was sufficient for a few seconds at a time, and recovered relatively quickly. There isn't as long a wait for it to save as there is with the M1. I also found 15 FPS too fast in many situations, and tended to drop it to 12 FPS or 10 FPS.